If I had invested in traditional retirement accounts, I'd be out roughly $2 million right now. And I believe for me that it would have been one of the worst decisions of my life. So in this video, I want to break down the math of why I don't believe in retirement accounts. And before you start hate commenting just off the title, I just want to break down the actual math and just kind of prove how it would have cost me minimum hundreds of thousands of dollars, but most likely millions with actual proof. That being said, I'm just some random dude on the internet, didn't even graduate high school. So don't take my financial advice as what works for me personally, not for everybody else. Do your own research. Don't copy me. That being said, don't just copy other people because it could literally cost you millions of dollars. So let's get into it. To start off with, retirement was not my goal, so I have no desire to have my money trapped in a retirement account that I can't access till I'm 59 and a half or whatever. My goal was to gain financial freedom as soon as humanly possible. So my goalposts are different than a lot of people's. Through doing this strategy while earning about median income, I was able to leave my job at 24. And it's been a really good decision for me. But again, if your goal is just to be a millionaire by the time you're 60, probably the traditional path would work. If your goal is to be a millionaire in your 20s and 30s, I think it's literally impossible for the traditional path to work. So that's one of the reasons I think it's a scam. All right, so I've invested in multiple different things and I'm gonna break down a couple of them to kind of show some math. So we're gonna start off with real estate. We'll get into some other ones that are a little stranger, but also have worked out incredibly well. To start off with, if I had invested $25,000, which is how much money I had when I was 22, and invested that into the S&P 500, got about 8% for the next 30 years, I would have had about $250,000 in 30 years. That is what I would have, more or less. Now, instead of that, I bought a multifamily when I was 22, put my life savings into it with a first-time home buyer loan, brought about $6,500 to closing, put another $10,000 to $15,000 into that property that first year, renovating it. Within about a year and a half, through the income from those rentals, I got all of my money back. And now it makes me about $1,000 a month, roughly $12,000 a year after mortgage, taxes, and insurance and money kept aside for like repairs and whatnot, vacancies factored in. The numbers were really good on that one. Plus, over the past 7 years, that property, which I paid $200,000 for, is now worth well over $400,000. So that $25,000 has already turned into about $200,000. Plus, in 30 years, that property will easily be worth $750,000 to $1 million. Plus, I will make $12,000 a year, absolute minimum if rents never go up over the next 30 years on that property. So that's just one simple example of taking control and risk and ownership over my investment. Will make me probably $500,000 to probably more like $1 million more over the course of 30 years than just investing into the stock market. Plus, I get that money right now, I get tax benefit. It's way easier and I could just hire a management company and take a little bit less if I want to do that. But to be fair, I do have to actively do some stuff like a couple times a year. I will have to check in on the property, do some minor things, call a plumber, that type of stuff. And then I did that again. I was able to get another property. This one was about $25,000 down, put another $10,000 into it. That property has also doubled. That property also makes me $1,000 a month. And it was after buying that one, just from the income from those and living for free, that I was able to leave my job originally, which was pretty cool. So for roughly $50,000, I had financial freedom, where that wouldn't even be close to being enough if I had gone the traditional path. So that is one thing. Now, I know a lot of people are very against rentals for multiple reasons, and I do want to cover a couple of those real quick before we go to my other investments and ultimately the other reasons why I don't believe in retirement accounts. First of all, people don't want to put in the time and effort to manage the rentals. There is no such thing as passive income. If you want to make big returns, you either have to take big risks or put in more effort or do something. If you do nothing, you shouldn't get as big of returns. That's why real estate generally works better than other stuff. And so I have a management company who manages one of my properties and I manage the other one because nothing ever happens there. But yes, there is some risk with real estate. Technically, the bank could call my note. The market could absolutely crash, even though I don't see that as a possibility really. And even if it did, it literally doesn't matter. Because over the long run, it doesn't, just math-wise. And then also people don't know how to repair. I had never done anything besides paint my bedroom before doing this, and I learned how to tile, I learned how to fix toilets, how to do basic other stuff. None of it was that hard, but it did take work, and I definitely put in hours to build some of that equity. The other thing is people are morally against it because they think it's taking housing away from people, where I haven't raised the rent in 7 years on my people. I keep it low because I know the people who are there. I provide them good housing that they would not be able to afford otherwise. Some of them would have major problems. If it wasn't me who was the landlord, they definitely wouldn't be able to afford anything. And so some people who are a landlord actually do provide good things if you treat your property with respect and your tenants with respect, and you are able to get rewarded and they're able to have a clean, cheap place to live that they wouldn't be able to afford otherwise. And so those are a couple of the common pushbacks that I get. But for me, the real risk was to not buy those rentals, because I'd run the numbers on like hundreds of rentals at that point. I was going to them every weekend. I was going to open houses. I was just doing the numbers over and over and over again until I knew them. And when I saw a good deal after 6 months or a year of searching for each one, I was able to jump on that deal because I knew the numbers so well that even if the property value dropped in half, it's never going to go cheaper than it is right now. Like the rents wouldn't. So it doesn't really matter, because I'll make money one way or I make money like 3 ways, so it doesn't really matter. So the next thing that I think is a billion times better than retirement accounts is investing in myself. Over the past about year alone, I've invested over $30,000 into mentorships, courses, going to seminars, paying for just like counseling on different stuff. And that money specifically for the one business that I invested it into has already tripled. So like, I don't think there's another investment that I could do that. And that's why I always talk about like buying books, buying coaching, buying like stuff. I have nothing to sell you, by the way. It is the best investment you can make. I'm going to like every seminar I can go to. If there's somebody who knows how to do what I want to do, I'll pay for that. Like just in the past year, I paid one person $15,000 to teach me how to do his like marketing funnels. And it literally doubled that business. Like, what better return could I possibly get? I read one book, and that's what led me in this rabbit trail of listening to podcasts and other books. And that's what got me that first rental. Like, there is no better investment than investing into your mind, learning new things. And then ultimately, like, all that's a complete waste if you don't take action. But if you take action and you stick with it for a long time, most of the time you're going to make your money back. At least I always have, or it's relatively cheap from like books or whatever. So definitely recommend that. And that's actually something that's in my budget now, is I try to spend at least like $25,000 a year on either courses, mentorship. I go to like a couple seminars. I'm actually speaking at FinCon this year, which will be like a first for me, but just getting in the room with people who are much more advanced than you, who have made $1 million years, who've made $100,000 months, just being around those people who do it routinely and that's just what they know has really, really helped my income and just opened up my mind to new possibilities. And I realize, again, this is not for everybody. If you're not an entrepreneurial type of person, if you don't want to take risks, if you want to just play it safe, invest into retirement funds. That is by far the best thing to do for most people. I'm just saying, for me, I would rather take on the responsibility, the risks, the upside, and the downside for that. And that's why I've done a couple of these other investments. So yeah, the next one, investing into my mind, minimum like 20, 25K a year that I have budgeted for that, because the more money I spend, it seems like the more money I make. I don't know that correlation, because sometimes it's like one idea that literally changes your life. And that's what I'm always searching for. That one thing, that one tip, that one whatever that can just change everything. Like, I learned about house hacking, buying those rentals from one book, and that literally let me leave my job at 24. Like a couple other things too, but like that was the main thing. From one like $19 book. Crazy. And along that point, I'll also say it doesn't just work like for YouTube, like investing into yourself. I know like my dad, for instance, he has a commercial cleaning company that I started working at when I was 11. And he has been hiring people out. He's been learning things, building systems, hiring more people to make it run faster so that he doesn't have to spend that much time working. So not only, much like the rentals or my company, not only is he working less because he's outsourcing people, but he's making monthly income, leveraging those employees, giving dozens of people jobs, and if he wants to sell it, he can sell it for probably millions of dollars at some point when he's ready for that. Even though he started it at literally zero, being broke, you know, when I was a kid, he was able to build it up over a long period of time to this point where it's one form of his retirement. I don't know if he's cool with me mentioning him. Hang on. Well, I'll text him, and if he says no, we'll cut this part. So this is where the next feedback that I normally get is, what about diversification? And I do agree, I'm not very diversified right now. I am trying to remedy that. I am investing a little bit into stocks right now. But again, I have some things that I have unique knowledge on, and I generally am a fan of investing into things you understand. And while I do understand the S&P 500 and things like that, I also understand real estate very well. I understand my businesses very well, and starting those is generally the best return I can spend on. I understand YouTube channels very well. I've started 2 new channels that have both profited, 5 figures within the first year. So I'm always trying to spend more on that. But I am slowly incorporating other things as well. I'm actually buying some stocks right now. If you want to see exactly what I'm buying, I'll leave a link down to Blossom. It's totally free. It's just like a social media for investors type of thing. You can see what I invest into. It's actually really cool. And that's another point here, is that because of some of this risk that I'm willing to take on, is I have been investing into startups, things that I can actively control. I invested into Blossom. I met the owners. I loved what they were doing. And I really believed in the vision, and I thought that I could help with my platform, kind of help grow it a little bit. So I invested some money into that, and the company has exploded over the past year. It's actually growing super well. Everybody is killing it. It's like such a wholesome platform that's really good for investors. Again, I'll leave a link down below. But that money that I risk and this company could have just as easily like tanked, but I believe will at least double, probably 4x or 10x over the next couple of years, which is something, again, I would never in a million years have a chance of doing that. Your money doubles roughly every 7 years in the S&P 500. I know that some of mine can double in 5 years. It might not be as consistent or as steady, have a much higher upside. And especially when I'm younger, so like I'm in my 20s right now, I am much more comfortable going broke. I'm much more comfortable taking risks right now than I would be later on in life if I know that there's like an 80% chance, 90% chance of it at least being okay or having upside. I'm okay with taking some risks because my goal has not been to become a millionaire when I'm 50 or 60. It's been to like, okay, what can I do to make this happen in my 20s or 30s instead? And that just kind of makes a lot of things not a possibility for me. Again, none of this is financial advice.
So now why I think retirement accounts are literally a scam. First of all, it was because I kind of discovered this calculator. And again, it's not a scam if your goal is to have money when you retire in like 30, 40 years from now. Not a bad thing at all. But for me personally, I would be stealing money from myself. So that's why I call it a scam. So I just want to show you this calculator. First of all, this is an idea that I actually just stole from like the 4-Hour Work Week and a couple other books about people who really focused on building income rather than building kind of like wealth. Like for instance, if I invest into stocks, yes, they will grow over time, but I'm not going to get monthly cash flow. And if I want to retire very soon, I need monthly cash flow. Because I had a couple $1,000s coming in per month when I was 24, that covered all my expenses and I could leave my day job because instead of investing money into stocks, I invested it into something that pays me every single month. Therefore, my freedom number is not that far away. So if we look at this kind of like calculator that I made to show this point, which you can use, I'll leave a link down below. Let's say you're making $5,000 a month from your active job and you have scalable income, some type of side hustle, rentals, whatever it is that makes $1,000 a month. Your expenses are $3,000 a month, probably going to be more than that. If you calculate your true wealth, well, you're still working dependent. You would not be able to survive that long unless you have a lot of money somewhere. You're not going to be able to survive that long based on this income. Because even though like in this instance, you're making double what your expenses are. If you stop working, you're gonna run out of money really fast unless you built out like a large nest egg, right? However, if you can just get your monthly scalable income, which is income that you 4-hour work week. So like I've talked about my rentals, my YouTube channel, this channel right here, I run in 5 hours a week. Same thing with my other channels where it's not completely passive, but it has a potential to grow to a lot of money while working minimally. I also just started like a software business that I've spent the past like 6 months on. I put so much money and time and effort into starting this. It's pretty much like a all-in-one platform for creators to have your CRM, host all your courses, your websites, your funnels. And I actually built it with somebody who's done like $10 million through his funnel. And then we copied it, it doubled our business. And then we're copying that out so other people can do it for just like $100 a month. And so the goal of this business is to be a complete no-brainer, really help people. But also after I put all this work into the front end of it, eventually it should be relatively passive where, you know, a couple hours a week, I can run this business, I can get monthly cash flow. Yes, it took half a year or probably at this point, like closer to a year of my life to build. But as long as the thing that I build is actually super valuable to people and they stay with it because it's way more value than we're charging, that should make me monthly cash flow for a really long time. So if my expenses stay that $3,000 a month and I can just spend, you know, 5 years of my life building up a second stream of income. Now, even if my monthly active income goes away, goes down to zero, I leave my job and I have $3,000 a month coming in, which most people can do if you zoom out. You take a couple of years to build a business, make $3,000 a month, and then find ways to outsource it. Buy back your time. Well, now you're 100% free. You can leave your day job. That's the moved goalpost. That's something where if I had invested all the money that I've invested into retirement accounts, instead of investing all that money into businesses that build me monthly cash flow, I'd like be screwed. So my main thing now is only investing into assets for the most part that build me monthly cash flow, unless I'm at a point where now I am like maxing out my Roth and doing a few things like that with just money that I'm okay with never seeing again. I'm okay with this money just going away. But always freedom is my priority. And freedom comes through cash flow. And so investing into something I can't access for 30 years is always, always, always my absolute lowest priority, as opposed to freedom for the rest of my life and my family, and getting to see my kids grow up and building businesses that are scalable, that have literally no ceiling. That's always going to be my absolute priority. And again, it comes down to personally, as I want to take as much responsibility as I possibly can, build as much I don't know what to call it, like 4-hour income as I possibly can, where it's not passive. Very few things are passive, but it's pretty close to it. And so for me, that's my strategy. Again, do whatever the heck you want. I'm sure you have some thoughts on this, so let me know down below. Happy to do a follow-up and clarify anything. But yeah, that's what I got. I'll link everything that I talked about down below for the calculator and everything. Really check it out. Honestly, when I played around with some calculators similar to this years ago, it changed my like whole life goals and everything. So I'd highly recommend checking this out if you want to, but hope it helps something.